Perfect. Perfect.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Vinda Chef channel. My name is Funzo, and if you're new here, welcome. Also, if you are, by the way, new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and the like button if you actually enjoyed this whole entire video. Like, after watching it, you're like, this girl is talking to, like, she's speaking to my heart, and I just want to give her that like and that subscribe. Don't also forget that to hit that notification bell so that you know when I post a new video each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if I can, or it's gonna be just Monday and Friday. It depends on what I'm posting and how busy my life is, because I'm back in school and life is just, I have assignments already and I have to do them. So it depends on whatever else is going on. Plus I have a cake business. And yeah, so that's basically it. Hi, welcome and welcome to my channel. So basically, how are y'all doing? I don't know why I'm asking as if somebody's actually gonna reply to me, but in any case, let's get into today's topic, which, if you did watch the last video that I made, that was on schools. This one is just basically kind of like a continuation slash talking about mental illnesses, most actually in my community. And by my community, I'm talking about like the Black community, but I'm sure it's not just my community that suffers through some of these things that we do to some of these things that we do to ourselves. So basically, yeah, I'm just gonna be talking about mental illness, and learning disabilities in schools and all that shenanigans. So let's start at it, right? So with mental illness, I've already uploaded a podcast, which, if you want to listen to, is already there, which was titled Depression and Self-Harm. That was just my experiences with depression and suicide and how it affected me, where I am right now. And guys, it took me like, I don't know, I think that the attempt that I did say that, I think it was like the sixth or the seventh attempt I was actually doing before I posted it, because I was like so afraid to post it. But basically, also, it's on Spotify if you want to listen to it. Just search for Funzo's View, and the whole thing is on Spotify. And I'm not quite sure if my stuff is already on iTunes yet, but you can also search on iTunes. It should also be there, and on Google Podcasts it should also be there if you do want to listen to it. Under Funzo's View podcast, you will find it there. So in any case, let's get into it, right? So while I ended off on the last video, I was just talking about some learning disabilities, right? Which in this case is the autism spectrum. And also we can have dyslexia, you can have ADD and ADHD. And these are just the few that I'm just talking about off of the top of my head, that I'm just saying that I feel like in a lot of in our community, if a child is suffering from any of this, we come up with that the child might be lazy, the child is not motivated, the child is stupid, which you would like to use, or that, like, we come up with those words instead of actually going to get a child tested for any of these things, amongst other things. Like, if you think I feel like this is my thing now. If you have a child who seems to be displaying certain I think certain behaviors that are not the same, or on I don't want to use the word normal, because I don't think that's a thing that we should be using, but it's just not normal behavior, right? Before you take them to a church or just label them as stupid or crazy, why don't you take them to a psychologist? And if you do not have medical aid, there is psychologists in our hospitals that are ready and there to help children or adults when it comes to these situations, and they've been trained to know, they've been trained on these things. I don't even know why I'm saying to know. They have been trained on these things so that they can detect them and they can treat them. Like for me, because I know, like for me, for instance, when I was younger, I didn't know that such things as schizophrenia, autism spectrum, or ADD or ADHD, anxiety disorders, depression, or what, gosh, I hope I'm not leaving. There's so many more that I know I am leaving out of this whole situation. But sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, when I'm looking at like kids, ne, and kids, because sometimes they don't want to be made fun of, or they're scared to come out and say something, or they don't really wanna bother adults, and like sometimes adults also do not just they don't even like trying to understand or comprehend a child. So in many cases they end up not how do you say, they end up not really listening to the child when they're telling them that they have certain problems. So I feel like when you see a child, I'm gonna say this: if you have a child, if you have a niece or a nephew or a grandchild or whatever the hell it is that you have, or a sister or whatever, just if you see them displaying something which does not seem like how a normal student would be behaving, talk to the parents. If you're the parent, go seek medical. I think even general practitioners are taught the whole psychological things, and if it needs an actual psychologist or a therapist or something like that, they will refer them to the professionals that are needed for them to actually check whether or not they have any learning disabilities. I remember on Generations they did a good job about talking about when the Lisedi girl was having learning disabilities, and they saw that something was not right with her in school. She was struggling on all of that, and Kanti, it ended up being that she had a particular learning disability, and that she just took twice as long to get something, but she ended up getting it in any case. But sometimes in our communities, to be quite honest with you, if somebody if a child was displaying normal, what we thought was normal for that child, and then suddenly maybe it's that the mental illness, since it was going untreated, got worse, or that it manifested, because there are certain conditions that might not affect a person until they're in their 20s or they're in their teen years, or the effects of whatever their mental illness is doesn't show until they themselves can like kind of like recognize it, and they can no longer control it. So then what ends up happening is that the what do you call it, the child, if you start seeing it at a late stage, basically. I think things kind of also like bipolar sometimes come in your 20s. Depression, a child doesn't know what the heck depression is. All they know is like there is a feeling of emptiness, sadness, and an unexplained mood problem or something like that, where they do not understand why this is happening and how it is happening, and they don't know what to do about it, right? So for me, I'm saying, as a parent, you need to look and observe your child. This is going for both parents, whether it is two mothers, two fathers, a mother and a father, both of you, not one, even single parents. Just look at what's happening to your child. Be involved in your child's life enough to see when something is wrong with them, and to see when something is not. Just learn about different things. Like for me, like let's say I might not be affected by a lot of things, like as in the ones that I've mentioned, right? But me taking the time to learn about it, to know about it, doesn't take away anything from me. Just giving yourself time to basically just go through the motions, learn it. Google and is there, ne? To help you with these situations. Books are there to help you with these situations and for you to understand. You have if you there's somebody in your life you can see is passionate about something there. Maybe you don't have access to certain things, but that person is the access that you have. If that person is passionate enough, they will take their time to explain to you what everything, like to explain to you everything that they know about a particular about a particular ailment or anything. They will take the time to actually explain to you. So because I think even like if I think even places like TVEP do have these platforms where they do send like out people to schools and stuff like that to explain certain behaviors or ailment or mental illnesses and stuff like that. But also, of course, that organization is very small and its own as well. It's not small. That organization cannot do everything. So also educating yourself as a parent. If you're gonna become a parent, this is my thing. If you're gonna become a parent, ne, I feel like it should be one of the some of the requirements should be you learning about mental illnesses. It should be you learning about just learning about like a child, like learning about sexuality and knowing that you're gonna have to accept it no matter what. Learning to not make things about you and be less selfish in situations. I think for people who are gonna become parent, those teaching books will be teaching you how to put a child to sleep, all those things, but I do think that should also be books teaching you on how to love your child, how to accept your child, and how to learn about different mental illnesses and learning disabilities that could be there on a child, and certain signs that you should see. There's certain things that I feel like should just almost be like kind of like information that you should always have in hand, most especially when you're gonna be raising a whole human being. I'm just saying. I think there's some things that you have in your arsenal as a grown person. We should be get taught in schools and stuff, because I feel like that will even be much better for people. Um, yeah, and anyway, let's get into like just mental illnesses as well. Ne? Like you realize that sometimes, like not sometimes, a lot of the times in the black communities, there's a lot of stigma around mental illness. There is still stigma, like people act like, oh my god, no, we're like changing, we are talking about mental illnesses now. But I think people understand mental illnesses when it looks pretty, when it looks like what they've seen on TV, and it looks like, oh, we're just gonna be accepting to this. They don't like depression, when depression means that you're not waking up from your bed, when depression means like your house or your room looks like a mess and you've not cleaned it in a very long time. They don't like that depression. They don't like that depression where you are very irritable and you just snap at people. That's not the pretty depression. The depression where you're just crying for no reason is not the depression that they like or seen. So a lot of people are accepting to depression that looks like it's wrapped in a bowl, and it just looks like it's the cool thing to have. So but the real nook and cranny of depression, knowing that somebody could have not bathed for a whole week or a month, and to them that situation was not something that they had recognized or something. And then you guys, like, because I've seen it on TikTok where people are like, listen, so this is my depression room, right? And I'm like, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely when I was in university. Because like when you're at home, I tried to hide it by, you would be changing something, but I still struggled with it. But then you would be like sitting here, you'd be like in your bed or something. Your room is a mess. Like, it's like my friends used to like tell me, like, if I wanted my room to be clean, it would be clean, but if it's a mess, it's a mess. And I was like, the time that it was a mess, that was when my depression was the worst, and I didn't have any motivation to even leave my room or to even get out of from bed or to do anything. um and some days would be I didn't even want to eat. I know I'm fat, and I know I am, but there were days where I was not eating as well, and that was it manifesting the way it wanted to manifest. So that's why I say there isn't real acceptance. And even when you look at, sometimes when you like talk to someone about, like, do you know what depression is? And by the way, I'll talk about depression because this is the one thing I know and have experienced, and I can, not the one thing I know, but this is the one I have personally experienced, and I know how it feels when I'm on the inside, because when I'm going through it and I'm going through the motions, right? And this is what I know. So, because like I don't know. I remember talking to someone, and I was just like, you do understand what depression is? Like, sometimes I like to take the opportunity to teach somebody about something that they might not have known. And I'm not, when they're still young and everything, I'm not gonna like put it on them like, okay, you should know everything. Like, of course not. Sorry about the dog noises. The dog is barking. I am so sorry. There's nothing I can do. My bad. But in any case, like, when you are like, when I was like telling them, and they were like, no, but it's like a sadness or something. I was like, well, it's more than a sadness. There is sadness in life, but then there is also depression. Those are two different things. If you want to know them, I think I did. I think I spoke about it in the podcast. You can go listen to that. I went into depth when it came to that. But it's also things like bipolar, right? Where somebody does not understand that bipolar is not just that there's mood swings. That's not the only thing that happens. Each bipolar affects people differently, right? When you see one person with bipolar, it will not look exactly the same. Like they say, everything has a spectrum, including depression, any mental illness. It has a spectrum. It has ways that it's affecting people, right? So like for bipolar, you can just see the one side of it. Like, let's say you just see the maniac side of it, the spending, the drugs, the sex, the stealing, the being too energetic and stuff. You will see that side, not being able to sleep. You see that, ne? And then that's the only experience you have ever had seeing it. But then there's also the side that they could be that you have seen depression, and the depression that is like that's presenting is also quite different. It might be something you've never seen. It can be that you have seen both ways. I've also heard that it can go from mania to depression if it's not treated or it's not properly treated. It can go from manic to depression in that instant for someone. It is more complex than that, but this is just what I can give on hand, right? And then I think you also have like schizophrenia, and I think what movies have told us is just basically like, oh, you're just seeing things or you're just hearing things and stuff like that. And I do believe that it's a lot more than that, even though there's still more I'm learning. Like I love TikTok for the fact that it also helps me learn from people that are experiencing it, and I'm getting to learn slowly what the mental illness is. There is also OCD. Listen, when I watch TV, people would always go like OCD was being organized. OCD was just washing your hands and needing hygiene. Until this other girl that I also saw recently, plus on TikTok as well, and on other programs that I was seeing, and then people suffering from OCD were talking about the mental torment that they go through in their heads when it comes to OCD. It's not just affecting just the physical, everything that we're just seeing now. Like there's actual things that are happening. um like the fact that with OCD we thought like OCD was just being clean, but the person can have OCD and not be organized and all of those things. Like that's just one form that you're seeing somebody talking about, or Hollywood exploiting and showing us that that was the one form, but there is a lot more intricacies to it. And again, it's a spectrum. It's the same thing as autism. Like autism, I'm also still learning to, like, I'm still trying to understand it, and I'm still trying to learn. And I think TikTok is also a good place to go learn when you're following people that are affected by it, and you are actually like learning slowly but surely, like finding out like, okay, so these are things that are happening and what's happening to somebody internally and all of that, which is I'm like, it's great education, and you get to see everything. I remember when I was watching this girl called Domo Wilson. She has a child who's on the autism spectrum, and when I was like listening to her, I learned new things about, okay, so this is what's happening and this is what's happening. Unfortunately, in our community, let's be honest, unless you have money and you are educated, right? Even some educated people and moneyed people don't even care to even look into it. You don't really even think these things exist, or you stigmatize them and you don't want them to exist. That's a thing that actually happens in our community. We label everything crazy that does not look normal, and we don't really want to face something, or you want to take them to church, which is the gag of it all. It's like every single time I see these things, it's like if a child might have schizophrenia or antisocial behavior, or anything for that matter, right? And then they think taking the child to church is going to some matter how help, but something they should have just taken them to a doctor to see if there was actually anything wrong. You all think that somebody's possessed. You said you're hearing voices, you're seeing people, all of that. You're like, yeah, this means I'm gonna take you to I'm gonna take you to church to go be prayed upon. Or when a person is suffering through a psychosis, right, which can happen to the best of us, depending on, sometimes it's drug induced, sometimes it might be alcohol induced, sometimes it might be injury induced, or sometimes it might be that it is due to something else other than being possessed by a demon or being bewitched by somebody. It can actually be the fact that if you took this person to a psych clinic where they have doctors, or if you took them to a doctor, they will be able to diagnose with this person with what they're actually suffering from, instead of label everything as crazy or possessed by a demon. You could actually just take them to a psychologist who can actually help. Now, I'm not saying everybody should be doing that, but I'm just saying, if your person was acting normal and then suddenly changed in their behavior, and they're seeing things and they're hearing things, maybe the first step should be for you to go to the doctors and figure out what's happening. It might be better for you than going to a pastor who will tell you that this person is possessed or something. Some of them are trained in psychology, which is helpful, and they might actually tell you to take the person to a hospital instead of praying for them. And some of them, like the ones that like money, will pray for your child and do things that you don't even want for your child, to be quite honest with you. So all I'm saying is we need to do better. There is so much stigma. you know there is so much stigma in this thing, where there's still people who don't want to share the fact that they have mental illnesses. Like for me, when I share it, I'm just like, listen, if you tomorrow you go gossip about me, for one, me, I don't have too many friends, and I don't really care for people in general. I don't really care for whether or not you like me or not. That's your problem. That's a you problem, not me. Um, because I don't even like interacting with people all that much. So for me, I don't know. If somebody comes and looks at me and thinks that, oh, she's just crazy because he suffers from depression and suicide, or thinks I'm weak or something like that, that's again a you problem. Because for me, yes, I suffer with it, I suffer from it. Sometimes it comes out, and people still don't understand it enough to know that sometimes when you're coming in and you think my place is a mess or something like that, listen, there's the struggle. Instead of you to just tell me to clean up or to do this, recognize that something is going wrong and talk to me and interact with me and then sit with me and then also try to find out that what is the thing that is wrong. I'm just saying that your first instinct should not be to be telling clean up, but all of those things. The only thing I'm just gonna do is just hate you being around me at all. So, or I'm gonna pretend that I'm okay so that you feel good, I guess. You feel fine. So all I'm saying is, because those are the things that you see, like even on TikTok. Like I guess I said when I see on TikTok when somebody is sharing a pain, like a disability or a mental illness or a chronic illness or anything else that they're suffering with, and then people on the comment section are gonna be on some, oh, you should just do this, oh, you're just lazy, oh, you just that, or you just that, and I'm just like, you know what? You know, when somebody has not gone through something or don't understand something, or they are suffering from something and they're just projecting, which I have done that before, where I just projected the way I was feeling on somebody else because they did something, and I was like, and then my friends pointed it out, the fact that I, one, was being a hypocrite, and two, I was being a douche, and three, I was projecting. So so I think there's those situations where you are, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not gonna condemn the black community because of all of that, but all I'm just gonna say is learn. Like I don't wait for anybody to try and teach you or anything like that. Just learn about it. Like give yourself time to study it, learn it. It's a lot more accessible nowadays for you to know, and know it's not a white person's illness. I know I've said that also before. Don't worry. I'm like, I know what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm including myself in it as well. Where I, being ignorant and stupid, you grow and learn from it, which is what I'm trying to do. But yeah, just learn from it. It's not, mental illnesses are not a white people thing. Getting them treated is not a white thing. Like, just because some, it's not even all white people get it treated, that's actually good. Don't think of it like, oh, if I'm suffering from this, it means I'm weak. No, you're not. It's a mental illness. It's There's nothing to do with strength or weakness or anything like that. It is just, it's something that you're suffering from, and it's not something that you should wow, okay. And it's not something that you should put yourself down for because it's happening. Seek help. Talk to somebody. And also, all of you who don't know any of the mental illnesses that I mentioned here, which are just the few out of the hundreds of mental illnesses that are there, Google is free, and you can learn from it. I'm saying if you have access to it, books, libraries, the government ones and everything, and you can go to the psychology section and learn about it. Yeah. So in any case, guys, thank you for coming to my little head talk. Anyway, thank you guys for like watching and listening to me go on and on about these things. And hopefully this was cohesive enough for you all to understand what I was basically trying to say. And I do hope that you guys actually enjoyed this. Love you all. Bye.